In this video we're reviewing the Triumph Bobber Black. It's a 1200cc bobber motorcycle built in Britain, and as you can see it's a beautiful looking bike. It's liquid cooled, 8 valves, 1200cc. It's the 1200 HT engine, which stands for high torque, and it's a very potent, powerful motorcycle. This bike I'm sitting on will cost $11,650 on the road in the UK as you see it, and that's a lot of motorbike for the money. If you want it in the sort of slightly grey colour, it's £11,800 and they call it Ironstone. The engine produces 76 horsepower at 6,100 RPM, and it produces 106 Newton meters of torque at 4,000 RPM. Up front you've got 47mm forks with 3.5 inches of travel, and at the rear you've got a monoshock with just over 3 inches of travel, and the ride is quite firm, but that gives you a nice feel and you feel in touch with the road. You've got the bar end mirrors, which I like. It gives you a better rearward visibility than having them high up and mounted on here.
So I love how this seat is kind of floating in the air. It is adjustable, but obviously you need a spanner to do that. And the fender, because it's so low to the tyre, it kind of gives a kind of fenderless look, even though obviously it's there, but it's kind of slipped down to the tyre so it sort of blends in. I think everything about this bike, all the parts look really high quality, which is a nice thing to have.
It's a very good looking bike. It's got a nice fat front tyre, a beautiful tank, and it's very easy to grip with your knees. It looks like an air-cooled engine, but it's water-cooled. You've got the radiator up the front. It's extremely beautifully designed. You've got some beautiful quality parts on here. You've got a rear monoshock. The rear mudguard's a lovely shape, and it's kind of hidden so you don't really see it. So it's got that really good bobber look. You've got this huge number plate at the back, which you have to have in Britain, but obviously you can make a smaller one. And you've got a fairly minimalistic light cluster here and indicators.
You've got unusual positioning of the ignition on this bike. When there's not a key in it, I think it looks really cool. But when you've got your key in it and it's dangling down, it kind of is a bit annoying. So that's an only thing, but I do like the look of it. I can't think of any other bike that looks this good as it comes from the factory. I wouldn't change anything to this apart from the exhaust, and that says something.
You have a 9-litre fuel tank, and this bike does 69 miles per gallon. Amazing. And you also have an average miles per gallon display on here, so that's a very good thing for a bike. That's something very useful indeed. The forks have a 25.8 degree rake, which is quite steep. It's a bit more like a sports bike, so the handling is very agile and it turns very easily. If you compare this to a Harley Davidson Iron, for instance, which is a sort of similar kind of bike, you could make it into a bobber, it's got a 30-degree rake, so this is much steeper. This bike weighs 237.5 kilos dry, so with the weight of the fuel and the oil it's a little bit more, which is about average for this type of bike. The wheelbase is 1,510 millimeters, which is a little bit shorter than the Harley-Davidson Softails, and about 5 mil shorter than the Harley-Davidson Iron, to give you a comparison. And a lot of that would be down to the steepness of the forks, but it feels quite a big, spacious bike, and it is in no way is it a small motorbike. So I'm 6'3", and it feels perfectly comfortable, and I'd imagine I look okay on it. I'd say this bike would be very suitable for anyone from 5'6" to 6'3", really. The seat height is 27 inches, give or take, and I say give or take because it is adjustable. You can undo a couple of nuts here and bring it down and back, or up and forward. So you've got about 1.5 inches movement backwards and about 1 inch or so of height adjustment. You've got a 6-speed gearbox, chain drive, disc brakes, ABS, fuel injection, electric start. You've got 2 modes. You've got rain and road for the traction control. You've got ABS, which you can turn on and off. And the bike does everything it expected to do. And it's a very modern, high-spec motorbike for the money. On this bike you've got a torque assist clutch, which makes the clutch feel lighter, and it also makes the clutch narrower. If you go onto Triumph's website, this bike comes with loads of accessories, so you can make the bike exactly what you want it to be. Another good thing on this bike, the service interval is 10,000 miles. So the first service is after 10,000 miles. So you probably won't do that in a year, depending on how much you ride, of course. But most people are going to buy a bike, at least put it in the garage and ride it on a sunny day. So you're never going to get anywhere near 10,000. But that's pretty good. Now, Triumph call this range of bike brutal beauties. And it is a beauty, and it is kind of brutal because it's very powerful. As soon as you open the throttle, you're going. And it's a very fast bike to ride. So, if you're thinking about one of these, I've narrowed down to basically 3 options. You've got this and 2 others. And I've written them down here because I can't remember all the facts and figures off the top of my head. You've got the Indian Scout Bobber 20 at 12,699. This is 11,650. They're both comparable in looks. Or you've got the Harley Street Bob at 12,295. Now the Street Bob is a little bit more torquey, a little bit more powerful, but it's also heavier at 286 kilos. And a little bit longer, not by much. And you've got a 30-degree rate, where this is 25.8, so this is a little bit more nimble. So there's your comparisons. The Harley, you would have to accessorise, you'd have to buy a few more things to make it look as good as this. So this becomes a very good value for money bike in comparison. This bike rides very nicely. It's very nimble. It's very easy to turn. After a few weeks you'd build your confidence and you'd be going through the bends like mad if you wanted to, but equally it's a nice comfortable ride, so in the towns, in the cities, you could just ride this bike and enjoy the ride, and it's a real head turner, so wherever you stop people are going to talk to you about it, and it's a sort of pleasurable experience. The handlebars are about the right width, they're not too wide, they're not too narrow, so if you're lane splitting you're not going to bash into every mirror that you go past, so it's sort of well thought out design. For manoeuvring, the turn lock to lock isn't very much, so if you're moving around in a tight space then it takes a little bit of a 3 or 4, 5 point turn. The engine puts down its power very well. It accelerates so quickly, and you open the throttle and it's a responsive bike, and you build up the speed ever so fast. The gear change is silky smooth, the clutch is light, and it's a very rapid motorbike. You've got the mid-mounted controls on here, which are just right for the bike, to be honest. I wouldn't say it needs forward controls, it wouldn't feel so good. The only thing is you can scuff the exhaust pipe here with your heel, so that's just one of those things that happens. With all that torque, overtaking is effortless. Going up hills you don't need to change down gear, you just twist the throttle and it will go. I like the look of the pipes. These are the stock pipes and they sound quite nice. Of course you can get louder ones, and if this was my bike that's what I'd do. Practically speaking, the rear fender covers most of the rear wheel, so you're not going to get splashed by the rear tyre. The front covers a small portion, so if it's really wet you are going to get some water coming down and you probably get wet feet, but that's not too bad. On a bobber style bike that's very good. We'd like to know your thoughts on this bike. What do you think of it, good or bad? We love it. It's beautiful, it's stylish, it's artistic, it's good value for money, it's fast, it corners, it's nimble, it does everything. Which bike would you go for? Would you go for the Indian Scout Bobber 20? Would you go for this, or would you go for the Street Bob? And do you think there are other comparables? So, who would ride a bike like this? I would say people of my age are going to love it. Older guys are going to love it. If you've just passed your test and you're younger, in your early 20s, you're going to love it. It's good for the ladies. If you're not as tall as me, it's good because you can lower the seat. So it kind of covers everybody. So we'd like to know what you think about that.
Now, being a younger rider, this still appeals to me. I think it's a fantastic bike. It's something I'd certainly buy, and of course it appeals to you as well, who is an older rider.
Not that old. Our verdict on this bike: it's beautiful, it's good value for money, it's fast, it's nimble, it does everything you'd want a motorbike to do, it's a head turner, it sounds nice. What more could you want? Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done already. The more subscribers we have, it helps us make better movies. We get a tiny bit of advertising revenue, so as that builds we can put it back into making better films for you, the viewer.